Hey everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, AI SEO, how to optimize your content for AI discovery and boost site traffic. So my name is Riley McLaughlin, and I'm the content manager here at Main Street ROI. And I am joined today by Munene of WordLift. And before I pass it off to Munene, just some quick housekeeping. So today's webinar is being recorded, and what's going to happen is tomorrow morning, you can expect an email with a link to this recording and a link to the slides. So if you want to take notes during today's presentation, that's totally fine. But just know you will get a full copy of the slide deck. Also, at the end of today's webinar, there will be a live Q&A section. So if you have any questions, there should be a questions box that you have access to. Just go ahead and put your questions in there, and then at the very end, I'm going to run through those questions in order for Munene. And with that, I'm going to pass it off to Munene.
Thanks, Riley. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. So today we're going to be talking about AI in SEO and a little more about how to optimize your content for AI discovery and to boost site traffic. So just a little about myself. I'm Munene Mumbi. I'm an SEO and innovation manager at WordLift. I'm the co-founder of a lovely community that started in Nairobi, Kenya called Search Savannah. And I was very excited to be a speaker at one of the first SEO conferences in Africa called Search African. And other than that, you'll mostly find me nerding out on SEO, PPC, and data-related issues. So today we're going to be talking about AI chatbots and how that affects SEO. So I feel like the first place to start is to even ask ourselves, why should SEOs even care? And the best answer to that is that we've been seeing a lot of such graphs for the past couple of months. We've seen sites lose 90% of their traffic overnight, and them trying everything that they can do under the sun, and Google saying, hey, we don't think you're doing enough. And this means businesses are losing revenue just because most businesses are really dependent or have really been dependent on SEO or organic search traffic. But as we've seen with multiple businesses, and I love this example by Will Reynolds of CA Interactive, that loss in site traffic doesn't always have to equal loss in revenue. Of course, if you're totally dependent on search traffic to drive revenue to your business, that's going to be a big blow to you. But for the holistic SEOs who've not just been dependent on organic traffic from Google, and you've looked at more of a 360 kind of digital marketing strategy that includes your email, your social media, and all these other platforms, you've not necessarily seen a drop in both revenue and traffic, because you're able to leverage the insights that you get from SEO to drive other sources of revenue or digital marketing touch points. I love this article by Philip on Search Engine Land, which is a really good explanation about what exactly is happening in the world of SEO today, where SEOs grew up. SEO grew up, but SEOs didn't. And I feel like this touched on a lot of us in the industry today, where we are struggling to keep up with the metrics that we've always known to work. But clients, whether it's marketing executives or marketing managers to CEOs, they're struggling to see the connection between what we're doing and their businesses. And that's because, number one, the data points that we're used to, they're losing more and more relevance today. We're living in a cookieless world where people are able to decline the cookies that we used to use to follow them across the internet. we are living in an age where AI exists, and to be honest, as much as part of this presentation, we're going to talk about a little about how to track your AI chatbot traffic. There's not a lot of data to point us towards where exactly is all this traffic that is being lost, where is it going, because people are getting more autonomy over over how we can track them, right? So a lot of the metrics that we used to understand whether um, our efforts in SEO are working are going away, and we are really in denial. And I'm probably one of them, because we're still relying on a lot of metrics that we used to, and I think it's about time that we moved on. And in the spirit of moving on, we're going to talk a little about AI in SEO, and as we are moving on, how exactly we can optimize our content, our website, our products, our product pages, our product listing pages, to be able to capture all of this traffic. And as we go into a world where AI is going to be more and more predominant in our worlds, just to make sense of that world and to come out on the other side a winner, just like we did a couple of years ago when we didn't know what SEO was and we had to learn how to use Google. So first of all, when we talk about SEO or AI in SEO, one of the most prevalent things that you'll notice is that the language in the chatbots slightly varies from what we're used to optimizing for. So right now, if I Google something like best sunglasses for men, Google will give me a bunch of different either PLPs, product listing pages, or actual pages, product pages where I can go buy these sunglasses, right? However, when you go to ChatGPT, that kind of changes. So this helps us to begin to understand how, as people move towards using AI chatbots like ChatGPT and Copilot and all these other Gemini and all these other chatbots, how that is actually changing the ecosystem, right? What users are being served and the user journey is now changing. So as opposed to Google, where I would typically just click on this link as a user and go to the product listing page, or probably a product page, and finally go to buy this product. If I have to use the same product journey on ChatGPT or any other chatbot, an example like this makes it clear that the user will look at this, analyze, get enough information, and then finally go and actually either look for your actual product, maybe like Ray-Ban Aviator or the Oakley Holbrook, and actually look for what they want now, having gotten enough information, right? So we might be looking for these users by thinking that we're going to get clicks from ChatGPT, but truth is, not all the clicks are actually coming from ChatGPT. Information is coming from ChatGPT, but not all the clicks are going to come from there. However, that means that chatbots such as ChatGPT and Gemini and all the like still remain very relevant in your user or customer journey, right? Because if you're not showing up here and the user is using this platform to find all the information they need before they can make an informed purchase, then clearly there's a huge problem, right? And with WordLift, for example, we spent years helping Ray-Ban and sunglass companies like Ray-Ban and Oakley to make sure that they have the right knowledge graph that is able to feed information to Google and all these other search engines. And clearly that has also come in handy in the age of AI, because we can see these same brands showing up here for very short tail keywords. However, something very interesting happens on these platforms, where this is not typically how people search on these platforms. They're asking long tail questions, right? They're asking for more details, because again, this is a conversational platform that's you're able to talk to it a little more, right? But then begs the question, where do you get the additional queries to inform your long tail keywords? Because clearly optimizing your content for best sunglasses for men or really short tail keywords that are related to your content is not always going to work. So how do you know what queries to optimize for to inform your long tail keywords? Truth is, first place you want to look for these queries is the AI platforms that people are chatting with. So for example, in the query that I showed before, where I asked the best sunglasses for men, after ChatGPT gave me a long list of the different sunglasses that it recommends. And as you can tell, it tells me the style, lens options, and why any of these sunglasses would be good for me. It goes ahead to ask me, and including even calling my name, what else, what style am I actually leaning towards? And it asks me if I want to know more about polarized lenses or different face-shaped aviators, right? So that already tells me that if my content is not targeting any of this let me say additional keywords, I'm clearly at a disadvantage where if I focused all my attention on best sunglasses for men and I don't have any landing pages, any content that talks about polarized lenses, both in my content and things like my schema markup, I'm clearly at a disadvantage if someone else is doing the same, right? The other place that becomes very interesting when you're trying to refine or look for longer tail keywords is the Google Shopping's feature that's called refined results. So with this feature, if you click on any of these options here, it automatically refines your Google search, and that allows you to understand what else do this AI platforms or AI powered platforms depend on or look for when people search for longer tail keywords. So if, for example, I was looking for sunglasses or interested in sunglasses in this case, and I didn't optimize my content for something like sports performance sunglasses, I'm at a disadvantage, right? So this Google Shopping feature is powered by AI, and it's one of the ways that we can tell. It's not on any chatbot, but it's a way that can give us more information about what exactly are these chatbots using to understand what people are searching for. And then once people search for this stuff, is my content able to appear as a search result, right? And pretty similar to the previous one, we have this section under your search box here on Google, for example, where you can start to get more information about what exactly Google is looking for when it says this is the information that people are typically looking for when they look for sunglasses. So if you're not appearing here, that again, when you add any of this content or additional keywords, it becomes a problem. But simply knowing that, hey, I need to optimize my content for sports performance or square and rectangle sunglasses, something like that, gives you more information about how and where to appear. So for example, here you can see that once I clicked on some of the additional options provided by Google, I'm able to refine the query sunglasses for men with more with a longer tail, to become a longer tail query that talks about interchangeable glasses. And there's so much more else that I can do, right? So if you're not including things like price in your content, or it's not very clear where how people can buy and what's the price of each particular item, you're not going to appear for things like under 35 glasses that cost under $35, right? Another section that has always been with us is the people also ask section. It's always going to be one of the most interesting sections for me on Google, where we can get to learn more about what people exactly are looking for. And these questions are not picked by random. They're definitely picked based off of what people are searching for. So optimizing your content for this, and this doesn't just mean creating FAQ content, but also making sure that you've captured a lot of these keywords and questions in your content, right? So of course, FAQs is one of the age-old ways where we're used to create frequently asked questions that address all of these questions. But truth is, these questions are so many, you wouldn't even know where to begin. So one of the best ways to make sure that you're capturing all of this is to make sure that you're including a lot of these keywords and a lot of these questions or answers to these questions in either your intro text, for example, if you have PLPs, or your product descriptions. Are they answering any of these questions? If you're dealing with polarized sunglasses, if you're writing a blog post, are you answering any of these questions, right? And it doesn't have to be you're using this and spamming or keyword stuffing your content to make sure that you're including all of this. Of course, we have to remember to remain as natural as possible, right? So the other thing that has come really handy when it comes to adding content to SEO is leveraging schema markup. So we know definitely that all these AI chatbots are trained on a lot of ones and zeros, and not the typical way that we're used to understanding how search works, right? So if you don't have actual ones and zeros, and in this case, your ones and zeros would be your schema markup, you're definitely at a disadvantage, right? And this is something that you can inject into your schema markup, understanding what to tell Google about your content, right? So again, I'm gonna still use the example of sunglasses. In this case, we've seen a scenario where the sunglasses industry, of course, when people look for sunglasses, they look for different items, either depending on color, whether they're looking for prescription sunglasses or not, and all of these, right? So aside from making sure that all of this has been captured in your content, it's really important to make sure that it's also in your schema markup. And maybe you might be asking yourself, how exactly do you know where or what schema to add, right? So fortunately for WordLift and any WordLift client, a lot of these schema attributes related to, for example, product or product schema or article schema or category pages. So that would be like item list schema. A lot of these attributes are naturally injected in your structured data and connected to your knowledge graph that we can feed to Google and allow it to get more information about your content. But what exactly are the attributes that Google is looking out for? Again, the fascinating bit is that Google is telling us all this stuff all over again, right? So for example, when you look at the sunglass world, sorry, let me go back here. When you look at the sunglass world, things like the color, the price, the material are things that you can inject into your schema markup to be able to give more information about what exactly your product is about, right? And this becomes a very powerful way to tell Google, hey, in case if there's anyone out there who's looking for example, plastic sunglasses, you see, I've injected that material attribute in my schema markup, and I've said this sunglass is actually made out of plastic, right? Or maybe there are people who are looking for glasses that are black in color. Being able to inject that in your schema markup allows Google to show your glasses or show your products to people that actually need that. And the way this works in a very simple way is that you're trying to make it as easy as possible for Google to look at the people that are looking for your content or content that's relevant to your brand, and you're making it as easy as possible for Google to say, I have Munene here who's looking for black shoes or black sunglasses, and I have Riley who owns a shop that sells shoes, and I can tell Riley has given me enough information to confirm that they actually do have black shoes, right? So Google is not going to come to your shop and check what is the color of your shoes. So it's upon you to tell it, hey, I have black shoes in my shop, and here are the sizes. This is the material of each shoe. This is the price of each shoe. So injecting that both in your schema markup and in your actual content goes a long way, because these two will work hand in hand to help Google make an informed decision. Because the same way the user is making an informed decision about what they want to buy, Google is also making sure that they guide them towards that, and they don't want to show them any results that are not relevant to them, right? Because if a user comes on the platform and they look for black shoes, and Google ends up giving them a bunch of pink shoes, clearly that's a problem, and Google doesn't want that. So the more you can make life easier for platforms like this, it becomes better for you, because the AI functionality of either Google Shopping or the AI chatbot, in the case where we saw, for example, if we go back again, we see that the AI chatbots are also placed in a way that they are looking for information that can tell users more about your content, whether it's your products or your company, right? So typically you would not expect an AI platform to know this much about products, but as you can tell from this example, this ChatGPT query, when I just look for best sunglasses for men, ChatGPT is taking its time to understand what do people look for when they look for sunglasses. And one of the most interesting thing that stands out for me is that it's able to actually break it down for me in terms of the different lenses that people that would typically look for, right? So I've optimized, I've worked a little on the Luxottica frame, sorry, the Luxottica brands, right? And clearly one of the main things that people look for is whether your glasses are polarized or not polarized, right? And this is information that one is injected in, for example, Ray-Ban is injected in both the front end content that the user is interacting with, but at the same time it's also been injected into the knowledge graph. And clearly LLMs like this are able to get that information, and so there's a clear connection between optimizing your schema markup and making sure that all of this information is connected to your knowledge graph and your AI discovery. So AI discovery now moves away from just the typical I'm ranking for this keyword. So for example, in the old days, for example, when we looked at the best sunglasses for men, we were used to maybe regular PLPs coming up, right? You'd have maybe a bunch of different maybe sunglass review websites that would talk to me a lot about, hey, if you wanted to buy sunglasses, here's a website that you can go to. This is what people have reviewed, or this is what we recommend as a review website. But this becomes totally different when you go to the AI chatbot version of the same query, because the AI chatbot is saying we're kicking out the middleman who would typically talk to you about what are the reviews they have. And we've seen even on Google itself, aside from chatbots, we've seen review sites take a huge hit. Of course, it's totally different when it comes to platforms like Reddit. Of course, we all know that the Reddit and the Quora of today are doing the most to shake things up on the subs. But truth is, review sites have taken a huge hit. So which means this middle person who used to be an important part of this customer journey has now been replaced by the chatbot. So you need to give the chatbot enough information about either in this case the style of your sunglasses, the lens options, why someone would be looking for this. Is someone looking for it because they're looking for UV protection, or do they have a particular issue with their eyes, right? So different, maybe like astigmatism or something like that. So giving as much information in both your content and your schema markup goes a long way in making sure that you're leveraging the best AI discovery that you can. So as we're talking about all of this AI chatbots and where to get the traffic that is clearly being lost somewhere in SEO, as we are saying, hey, people are losing traffic on their websites, and we can see brands crying out to Google every now and then, especially when there's a new Google update that launches, right? So where is all this traffic going? Is there any way to measure it? Before I go on to the next slide, I'll start by giving a disclaimer that a lot of the traffic that is being lost is not something that we can track right now, because, for example, we don't have such a search console for ChatGPT in the same way that we have it for Google, right? So it's going to be very difficult for us to be in a position to say, this is where all my traffic is going when it comes to ChatGPT, and this is what people are searching for when they click on ChatGPT. However, because a lot of this traffic is actually a lot of these searches are actually starting from Google in one way or another, we are able to understand how exactly did this user go from Google or from an AI chatbot to your website. So how exactly can we do that? And it's pretty simple. I created this free GA4 report that you can leverage. Once these slides are shared with you, you can simply check this report and duplicate it to use your own data. And it's been inspired by an amazing post by Jess Scholz. I hope I'm saying that right, on LinkedIn. And basically, instead of just building this out on your explorations report, you can also do this on Looker Studio, where you can begin to understand, for example, in the case of this site, where exactly are your users coming from. So in this case, we're using the dimension page referrer, and we're using sessions to start to understand how are the users that are coming from all these different chatbots actually able to change or to influence different decisions on our site, right? So if you have different goals, for example, you want to know, are there any people that are coming from ChatGPT that are able to buy your product, sign up to your email list, or start something like that? It's important for you to understand, to not just look at your organic traffic, but to also start looking at the traffic that is coming from these AI chatbots and how it's actually influencing the user or the customer journey on your website. So in this case, we can see ChatGPT is leading, followed by Perplexity, Copilot. I've seen Copilot doing a lot better in multiple cases where I have created a similar report. It's always fascinating for me because I think when you think about, especially the fast to market kind of notion, ChatGPT and of course Gemini have been fighting hand to hand, trying to take over the AI space. But it's interesting always to see players like Perplexity and Copilot appearing here. So all to say, if you never really thought about optimizing your content or thinking about how people are using your content or looking for your content on Copilot, without this report, you would never have to think about Copilot, right? But once you come to this report and you see a platform like Copilot is doing the most in terms of driving traffic to your site, that clicks something in me as a marketer. So I think this is the part where we said, SEOs need to grow up alongside SEO as SEO is growing up, because now instead of just thinking about the typical ways that we are used to optimizing for SEO by looking at things like search console and the impressions and the clicks and the queries, I can now start to think about ChatGPT and Perplexity and Copilot by simply looking at this report, right? And all of this that we've talked about in the past couple of minutes is, of course, going to help you, to guide you to understand how would you focus your attention to Perplexity. And one more thing I need to mention is that even as we're talking about all these AI platforms, the truth is they're not going to be a major focus in driving traffic or revenue to your site. I wouldn't say this is going to happen tomorrow, but it's more of somewhere to keep your mind at and to start to optimize for it slowly, because as we've seen, the sites that are really winning right now are not sites that started to do SEO or to work on their SEO yesterday. They are sites that started to work on their SEO a couple of years ago. The sites that started to think about, okay, so instead of just thinking about SEO, how does that power, how do I use that to power up my PR efforts as well? How do I use that to power my email marketing efforts, my social media efforts? So sites that started to think about all of this and digital marketing as a wholesome thing about 15 years ago, something like that, are sites that we see winning right now. So you might dismiss this and say, okay, ChatGPT is only bringing me 363 users in a month. How does that really measure up to all the users that I need to drive to my site? Truth is, it doesn't seem like a major thing right now, but once you spend a couple of months and people are now suddenly moving to ChatGPT, that becomes a problem if you didn't start to optimize for it right now. I'll say for sure, anyone who will start to optimize for AI discovery today is going to be really well placed in the next couple of months as these platforms continue to grow. And of course, it wouldn't be from the sense of all your sales are going to come from ChatGPT tomorrow. So forget about SEO and now just focus on ChatGPT. It's more of, let's do all of these things together, right? I really love the article that Will Reynolds wrote, especially when he really put it out there for us that, hey, this is my search traffic and this is my email subscribers that are coming from the website. So an interesting thing that I found in that article is that a lot of SEO traffic was actually lost on the site, but subscribers, email subscribers, so email marketing was doing really well, but an interesting thing is that a lot of the email subscribers were actually coming from the website. So this is definitely has to do with brand positioning. So people are probably automatically going on ChatGPT or any other platforms and looking for this particular brand and landing on the website without necessarily have to go through SEO. So website newsletter signups are going up at the same time that SEO traffic is going down. And this is interesting because typically as SEOs, we don't necessarily think about our brand because Google has kind of made us lazy, to be honest, where we only think about optimizing for particular keywords, and we don't think about optimizing or making sure that people fall in love with our brand in general, right? So one of the main things that in my view ChatGPT and all these AI chatbots are doing is making us change our perspective as SEOs to thinking about our brands and not just our content. So if your brand typically deals with let's say, I keep using sunglasses, maybe I can shift that to shoes. I'd mentioned shoes before, or maybe mattresses, right? If if these LLMs and these chatbots don't feel like you have enough content, or your brand is positioned in a way that they understand that you are a mattress company or a shoes company or an authority in your space, it becomes a very huge disadvantage for you, both in the Google AI-powered search features on Google, or on the chatbots themselves. You have a huge disadvantage, and that's why you've seen a lot of the brands that are winning today are brands that not only care about their SEO but care about their brand in general. I think it's giving a whole different perspective to something like EAT that we used to think about just in terms of optimizing for making sure that your name has been added on an article. So that's just not the only thing that we need to think about in today. We also need to think about things like, what are people saying on social media? How can I translate that to content on my site? What are people saying on ChatGPT, and how can I translate that to content on my site? So ultimately, all these things tie together, and it stops just being about how do I optimize for SEO, and it becomes, how do I position my brand to make sure that it's at the top position as AI discovery becomes a big deal tomorrow. That's all I had for you, and thank you very much for listening. I'm open to any questions that you have.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Munene. So it looks like we actually do have one question right now. So if you do have questions, please put them in the chat. This question comes from Amanda. We had a major bandwidth spike recently, only to discover through WP Engine that it was due to AI chat crawlers. Should we block these, and why do they take so much bandwidth?
I'd say when it comes to allowing crawlers or AI crawlers onto your site, it's more of a personal preference sort of thing, because the way the crawlers are getting information from your site, of course, they're using them to train their LLMs, right? So if you feel like any crawler is important to you, so for example, if you're looking at, we're seeing a lot of people coming from ChatGPT, and maybe we want to give more access to ChatGPT so that we can help them understand our content, then clearly allowing the crawler to access your site becomes an important part of your strategy. However, if you feel like your business is not really reliant on any of these chatbots to drive traffic in today's world, then you should definitely block those crawlers, right? A lot of people have been talking about all these privacy issues, and truth is, I think we're living in a world where it's a matter of how much does it matter to you, right? Because Google has been crawling our sites for free for years, right? And they've been serving us with all of this, let's say, organic search traffic in return, right? And I think one of the main reasons why blocking crawlers has become such a huge thing is because a lot of these crawlers, we feel like they're taking information from our websites, but not, it's not really a quid pro quo, because we're not seeing a lot of links in this in the responses provided by LLMs. And in the case of, for example, all the examples that I showed on ChatGPT, ChatGPT itself has not given a single link to either Ray-Ban or Oakley or Sunglass Hut, any of this company that it's actually recommending. However, when you think about the customer journey as a whole, you have to think about, as much as I'm not getting any links, are my users leaning towards chatbots when they're looking for information about either my brand or my my product, right? So if users are leaning towards it, then you should definitely allow some level of crawling, at least not block everything, right? You can block certain sections of your site where you feel like you're not comfortable with LLMs using that information to train their AI. However, if you feel like some content it's already accessible on Google or anything like that, then you're welcome to allow them to crawl your site. At least that's my 2 cents.
So Munene, I think earlier you mentioned we don't really have the ability to see the impact of this additional AI traffic yet. But in your
True.
example with Ray-Ban and Oakley, would you say that maybe one way to determine the impact would be to see if there's an increase in direct traffic? Because I imagine in that case, even though there's no links, people might be coming direct to, just typing in like Ray-Ban or Oakley.
Yes, that's definitely one of the ways. Actually, I should mention. Thank you for that reminder. This report is basically just a beginner to start to understand how any of these referrers are driving traffic to your site. So you can break this down a little further and see how many of these page referrers are actually maybe where exactly is the source and the medium of this traffic, right? An interesting thing that I found, just like Riley is talking about, is that you might assume that just because the traffic came from Perplexity, you might assume that the search started on Perplexity. The interesting bit is that a lot of these searches actually seem to start on direct traffic. They're being captured as direct traffic, and then in some way being linked to Perplexity. So yes, to answer your question, yes, a spike in direct traffic could be one of the indicators that you're getting a lot of traction on platforms like ChatGPT and Copilot and Gemini.
Cool. And I'm not seeing any more questions, but if you do have questions for Munene, this is a really great opportunity to ask because like he had said in the beginning of the webinar, if your site is really heavily dependent on organic, SEO traffic from places like Google, this represents a pretty big shift, I think, in the industry. So while it may be scary for a site that's overly reliant on organic traffic, it's also an opportunity for maybe sites who don't get a lot of traffic right now to kind of level the playing field, I think. Would you agree with that?
That's true. That's true. There are so many sites right now that don't really understand what to do because um, they've been hit by multiple Google update after Google update, and it's not clear to a lot of people where exactly to go after that, right? And one of the best things that I love about AI discovery is that it forces you to think differently. And I really love that article. I think I just saw it. I remember seeing it over the weekend. The article about SEO growing up and us SEOs not growing up along with it. I love thinking from an AI discovery perspective because it shifts your mindset and it forces you to think outside the box automatically, because a lot of the things that we thought we knew with SEO are going away, right? And when you keep optimizing for something like Google, your brain automatically forces you to keep thinking towards that direction, forces you to keep thinking towards how can I game the system, right? But AI discovery is sort of forcing us to think differently. And I'll be honest, no single person has a playbook on how to optimize completely for the next phase of AI discovery. And we are always learning new things on the go. For example, here we're talking about things like schema markup on products. And like recently, Google decided, you know what, we're going to get a lot of content about your products directly from your merchant center. So that forces me as an SEO to start to think about, okay, if Google is using an AI-powered feature that is forcing people to go and shop on Google, so then as an SEO, I need to make sure that my merchant center as well is loaded with a lot of information that can help Google get as much information about my products or my brand in general, right? In the case of, for example, reviews, right? We can see more and more brands coming out where people are not necessarily relying on review sites, and they're relying more on, I mean, Google is not necessarily relying on review sites, and they're relying more on people who like actual reviews. And in this case, they're relying on tools like Trustpilot. They're relying on tools like Google My Business. So some of these things are both things that we used to know, or things that have been in front of us and we've not been capitalizing on them. And AI discovery forces us to think about that. So if you have any products and you're not getting any reviews, or you're not inching your people or your audience or your customers to review you on Trustpilot, clearly in this age of AI optimization, you're losing out. If you just have a Google My Business account that no one has ever really bothered to optimize, you're clearly losing out. So all to say, AI discovery is a different ballgame, and I totally agree. It really forces us to think different, and I'm glad that we're having this conversation here today.
Yeah, so in terms of, you know, moving more towards optimizing for AI discoverability, let's say I'm a small business. What are the very next steps? What are the things that I should do starting this week to, you know, help with AI discoverability?
I'd say, to put it simply, actually small businesses today are better positioned to optimize their content for AI discoverability, because they're the best people to go after long tail keywords. A big business, for example, if you own a worldwide conglomerate that sells shoes, for example, you really want to make sure you drill down on that shoes for men query, right? However, it's totally different when you are small scale shoe company, for example, in Rome, Italy, right? Because you have a very particular or niche audience that you're looking for. So there are probably people that are looking for leather shoes for, I don't know, people who like to ski or something like that. I don't know, that's a terrible example. But typically, niche businesses are usually better placed to optimize their content for long tail keywords. So as soon as tomorrow, start injecting these long tail keywords into your content, your H1 tags, your title tags, your meta description. So it's the same stuff that we used to do for SEO, but in this time we're changing things up in that we're looking at what are the long tail keywords that all these LLMs are providing. When they say, here's what else you can search for, here's what else you can ask me. So make sure that you're optimizing for that in your content, and that puts you in a totally different level compared to all these big brands that know they have the power of the brand behind them. So that's the main thing I can say. And then also reviews, I think, are a huge deal. They've become a bigger deal more and more, where expertise and authority is not just about what you say about yourself, but also what everyone else is saying about you. Making sure that people are reviewing your brand, your product on whatever platform really goes a long way. And to be honest, diversify. I think I'm growing more and more. I'm leaning more and more towards an age of SEO where we don't just think about SEO as a standalone. I think we had been bullish enough as SEO, where Google was giving us so much free traffic, quote unquote, that we felt the need to just kind of segregate ourselves from the rest of the world. So as an SEO, if I don't understand how PPC works, that's a problem, because clearly we've seen that these two are working hand in hand, right? As an SEO, if I don't understand how email marketing or social media works, I'm at a disadvantage. So I'd say the one thing that SEOs today, or even small business owners today, need to do is to stop relying on just SEO to drive traffic to their website, and to have an all-rounded mindset that allows them to leverage all these other digital touch points, such that by the time this user is coming to their doorstep, either virtually or physically, they have enough information and enough touch points where they've related with your content without even speaking to you, because we're seeing that happening more and more today.
All right, and we got another question. This one's from Todd. He says, we sell software. When I ask Copilot, how good is my software? The response has references to software review sites, i.e. Capterra. Would you advise contacting the review sites to make sure the content on their sites is favorable to our brand?
Absolutely. I mean, if there's any place where LLMs are getting traffic or getting information from, that automatically tells you that you should be mentioned there. I had an interesting conversation with someone about Reddit. We've been talking a lot about Reddit is taking over our spaces and all of these number one sub positions. But truth is, in the same case with Capterra, if people are looking for Capterra and trusting Capterra reviews, it's important for you to be on Capterra and to have people reviewing your content or your products on Capterra. In the case of Reddit, for example, we've seen multiple search queries come up where as SEOs, we're complaining about Reddit is becoming a problem. What is happening is that there's a shift also in the way people are searching for things, where they will search, for example, for I don't know, maybe handbags, the best handbags in Melbourne, and then they'll add that query Reddit. So people are actually trusting these review sites to get enough information before they can make either an informed purchase or get information about anything that they want to learn about. So if your brand is not showing up on that Reddit, if your brand is not showing up on Capterra, then you're definitely at a disadvantage. So I'd say yes, make sure that you're showing up in places where people are looking for you, and you're showing up where Google is looking for this information, and where Copilot is looking for this information.
All right, so awesome. Todd says, great, thank you. Yeah, and if there's any other questions, please put them in the chat. We have a few minutes to go.
Yeah, this has been really great. I didn't know the conversation about AI discovery would be this in depth, but I hope I shared something that can help someone optimize their website and their content for AI discovery tomorrow. Just a bit of a shameless plug, I'd say. Knowledge graphs are becoming more and more important in the world of AI discovery, and making sure that you're working with a good tool or platform that allows you to build a really good knowledge graph to give AIs more information about your content goes a long way. The unfortunate bit is that we see a lot of people playing around with schema markup, but there's not enough understanding of knowledge graphs. And maybe in a different platform, it will be interesting to come back here and talk about the importance of knowledge graphs, especially in AI discovery, because we see that becoming more and more prevalent as Google as well is using knowledge graphs to better understand what people are searching for and to understand what to serve their users.
Yes, and I know WordLift offers knowledge graphs as a service. How should people contact? Should they contact you, Munene, or?
They can contact me directly, or they can simply go to our website and book a demo where someone from WordLift will help you understand knowledge graphs and how you can use them to improve AI discoverability for your website. So yeah, just going to wordlift.io allows you to simply book a demo with someone from WordLift pretty quickly.
Perfect. And we have 2 minutes left. We just got one last question from Marguerite. If you don't mind, Munene. She
It's okay.
says, what about websites that offer information rather than e-commerce? In addition to long tail keywords, any tips on metrics / structured data?
So apologies for using a lot of product related examples today, but the same goes for um, content content parts of our site, right? So for the example that I showed before shows schema markup, product schema that has been well optimized to help give AI tools more information about your content. So in the same way, article schema can also be optimized to give these chatbots enough information about your articles as well. So whether your blog post, for example, is talking about the general theme of home improvement, for example, it's important for you to make sure that all of this has been captured in your schema markup. And a good example, for example, is using an attribute called mentions. So schema mentions allow you to give Google more information about what is the general theme of this article. So an interesting thing that happens, for example, when you use WordLift, and I think I've seen that even on Yoast, is that you can simply use some of these tools to make sure that your categories are able to give more information about what the general theme of your content is. So make sure that your categories are not just all over the place, your tags and categories, but they are pretty much aligned to what you want Google or any of these LLMs to understand about your content. So if, for example, you're talking about home improvement, make sure that everything that people look for around the theme of home improvement has been captured in your categories. And you don't want to niche down too much when it comes to things like categories, because you don't want to have too many categories. You want to keep it broad enough, but also inclusive enough, such that when you come and add that schema mention, it helps this LLM to understand, okay, so if you're talking about something like the best home improvement blog in Delaware, this site definitely has a section or a category for that. And I think we can give our users more information about that.
Perfect. All right, we are at time. Quick reminder, today's webinar was recorded, so tomorrow morning you'll get an email with the link and to the recording and also to the slide deck. Munene, thank you so much for today's presentation. I feel like this is a really relevant and important topic, and I think we had a really good discussion.
Thank you for having me. Thank you to everyone who managed to join us today.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining, and have a good rest of your day.
All right. Bye-bye.